Hey, what's up everybody? Adobe Masters here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a callout title or callout pop-up, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it looks like this right here. You basically have this thing just come out and sort of give some information. You can create multiple of them to point different areas. Sort of a little caveat to this is that you need really stable footage because Premiere Pro doesn't have a tracker in it. So we can create this all in Premiere Pro, but it needs to have relatively stable footage so that we can either do some manual tracking on it or so that it'll just look good if it's, on a tripod shot. So that's the only really stipulation behind this. Other than that, it's actually pretty easy to do. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is we need to actually create ourselves two sequences. And we'll just create the first one right now, and then we'll create another one a little bit later. So we need to create a new sequence. We're going to actually name these. Let's call this one the pop out. We'll click OK on that. And so basically what we're going to do in this one is build that actual animation, build the thing actually coming out. And to do that, all we're going to use is the graphics tools. So we're going to go into here, we're going to go into our rectangle tool, and we're just going to draw somewhere in the middle and make a good sized rectangle. It really doesn't matter to get these things perfect because we are just going to be manipulating some of the stuff later on. So just sort of get a good sort of rectangle that you like and get going from there. Once we have a rectangle, we want to go into the essential graphics. We should be in the graphics workspace for this, by the way. It's just going to make a lot of things easier, especially switching colors. So go into the graphics, the essential graphics panel over here. Click on this, and now we can just choose a color that we like. Sometimes the colors will just turn out bad. So just kind of mess around with the colors until you get something you like. Maybe somewhere in, let's go with maybe a lighter like that range would probably look good. And so then we're going to grab some text here. We're going to click on the text tool. And you'll notice that these are in the same graphics layer. We're going to click once, not drag, click once so that it'll expand itself. And then we can put literally anything we want here. Let's go center of universe. There we go. Something very nonsensical. Works perfectly here. We'll just put that right in the center like so. And make sure that this is sort of looking good. So click away so that box disappears. Move it down, move it up. Just get it so it looks good right here. Once we have that done, what we need to do is we need to actually animate this box coming in and then also the text coming in. So to animate the box coming in, we're going to go over to the effect controls. We're going to go down into the shape. We don't want the text. We want the shape right here. We want to uncheck the uniform scale. And then that's going to give us this horizontal scale. And the reason that's going left to right with this horizontal scale is because the anchor point is right here. We can move the anchor point if that's what we wanted. If we wanted to go right from left, top to bottom, although horizontal scale is only going to go sort of right to left, left to right. But you can choose where you want that to happen. And in this case, we have it all the way on the left. If we dragged it in the middle, it would do sort of a middle thing that would come out from the center. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down to 0. And then we want to move forward I like to go about 7 frames with these sorts of animations. Come into 115%. And then we want to, well, first off, we need to go ahead and check this box right here. See, you can mess that up so many times. There we go. Click 0. Right like so. And then we're going to move forward 7. It's funny how many times I forget to check that box. It's just so easy to forget sometimes. And then back up here to 115. Okay, and then the reason we're going to 115 is it's going to give us that pop-up effect. And I really wish that if you clicked away, it didn't lose your place in here. There it is. So then we're going to move forward 2 more frames, and we're going to bring this back down to 100, like so. And so what that's going to do is it's going to give us this little pop-in effect. And that just gives it a little bit of an animation, a little touch to it that makes it a little sort of cleaner feel to it. We also need to do something with this text because it's just going to be here before everything else. So what we're going to do is now we want to scroll down to the text. We want to click on its opacity, and we want to actually activate the animation this time. Go to 0%, or let's find a spot where we actually want it to come in. So we'll have it go 0% for now, and then I want to begin animation maybe right about there. So let's drop a keyframe in, and then move until the animation ends, which is right about there, and move this up to 100%. And so now we have this nice animation happening. Now let's create some boxes beneath it. The reason I didn't create them beforehand is because we can now just sort of work with this. All we have to do is just copy and paste this, or if you hold down the Alt key and drag up, you can copy it that way, or Control C and then select that and click Control V. 2 ways to do it, but I like the Alt because it's really, really fast. So now we have 2 of these. What we want to do is click on the first one, or the top one, and we're actually going to take the top one and we're going to move it forward maybe 1 or 2 frames. 4 frames is actually pretty good for this. Then we're going to take it and we're going to click on it, the top one right here, hold shift while we select both of these so that we select them both at the same time. You see, hold shift. Then we're going to bring them down a little bit and we're going to align them right like so with the other box. And now what we have is this sort of top to bottom pop-up effect happening. Now what we're going to do is we want to actually shrink the scale and bring this as a smaller one. So let's click on the top one, go over to effect controls, and bring the scale down a little bit. And you'll see that it does move our positioning right here. So what we can actually do is we can actually just move it back using this over here. That'll make it a little bit more precise. And so now we have this nice effect, and let's go ahead and change the color. Usually as they go down, you want to work towards gray if you have multiple of them. Yeah, let's go with that gray right there. Now you have an accent color and then a gray, and then of course we want to change the text. We don't just want it to say center of the universe twice, so let's click on the text, click on the text icon, and we'll say, let's think center of the universe, black hole. If I can type, black hole here. And then, so now you have these 2 pieces of information that are coming in just like so. And so now you kind of have your animation. You can create another box down here, or a lot of times there's actually text down here without a box. That's pretty easy to create if you want to do that. We can just do the exact same thing. We can hold Alt, drag this one maybe 4 more ahead. And since the animation is already there, what we can do is we can just delete the back box and just move the text down, maybe put it in line with everything else, and put, like, I don't know, it's no light escapes. And so now we have like this sort of cascading downwards into just text. And since we copied the top one, it'll kind of go with the same rhythm, top, bottom, middle, bottom, sort of like that, and it works out nicely. Last thing we need to do for this part is to add a cross dissolve to the back end. This is just going to sort of clean up the effect and have an end point for this, so we can put these all at the same time. We can expand these or, you know, contract these as much as we want to create a one of the time that we would like. We could also leave this out for later on, and I'll tell you when you can leave it out for later on. It'll give you a little bit more flexibility that way. But right now, what we have is this right here. So we have the pop in, and then it fades out. Next thing we need to create is one more element in here, and that is the actual arrow, the thing that points to the actual object. So what we're going to do is make sure none of these are selected. Go up to the rectangle right here, and we want to drag a rectangle down like so. And you just kind of got to eyeball this and, you know, make it look good. Premiere doesn't have a lot of really helpful adjustment tools for this, so you might have to do it a couple of times, but once you do it a couple of times, you'll get something that you like. So now we have this first one right here. We want to then create another one. So let's go into the rectangle again and make sure that this graphic is selected, this top one that we've created for this. And let's create one maybe like that. And now what we want to do is we want to click on this one right here, and we want to rotate it a little bit. And you see it's going to rotate on the pivot point up here. We could have changed that before, but I find it's just quicker just to rotate it and then move it back into position. And you see it's a little off. We don't want there to be any like sort of jagged lines here. So we want to just sort of move this around until we get it just right. If you want to fine tune it, you can click on, you can go find shape 2 and move the position by fine tuning it right over here. I think that right there looks pretty good. Okay, so next thing we want to do is, this is a really easy part, is just to add the little circle. So we're going to click right here, and then we're going to draw this circle right like so. And what we can do is just hold shift to make it a circle and then just drag it into place afterwards, right like so. And there we go. That looks pretty good. And this part is pretty easy because the animation is coming off of this line. So all we have to do is add cross dissolve to the front of these, and what that'll do is just create a little opacity change as it comes in. Now, the thing that we don't want is we do not want this to happen after. We want this to happen right like so. So we want to have this come in and then sort of have everything else pop in like so, right like that. And this timing might be off just a little bit. Yeah, I think it's off by a frame or two. It just felt like it might be. Let's zoom in here to sort of bring this to the right frame there. Let's jump in. There we go, right there. There we go, that looks a little better. Okay, so now that we have the effect created, it's really easy to add it into a scene, and we probably want to cross dissolve the back end of this as well and make these all lined up to the exact same again, so that the entire animation has an outro. And then we want to create ourselves a new sequence, so just file new sequence, and this is what your footage sequence is going to be, so create this according to your footage. This one is just sort of 1080p. That's fine to create it in high def. If you have 4K, you want to create this in 4K. Otherwise, in this one, just whatever your footage is. Mine's 1080p. So we're going to click on this. We're going to drag it in, and you'll see that we have this bridge shot. And you'll notice that's a little bit shaky at first, and you'll probably want to warp stabilize your footage if it is a little like handheld shaky. Definitely a tripod is the easiest to work with this, or something very consistent in motion, because like I said, those little shakes, you're going to need a warp stabilizer, or you're going to need a motion tracker to add this in really, really nicely. But once you have it and you have your tracked footage or whatever, what you want to do is you want to drag in just this one that we created, this pop-up sequence, this pop-out sequence right here. And now what we have is we have this animation that we can put anywhere we want. So once we click on this, we can go ahead and scale this down, and then we can move it around wherever we want. So, you know, maybe we want to select the center of the bridge right here. So let's get maybe like right up there. Bring this up to right up to here. And now we have sort of a good place to go off of. And now you see we have this sort of pop-up animation come in. You see the shakiness makes it look a little unrealistic. So we can try to go in there and do some hand sort of tracking in there by keyframes, because it isn't a lot. But also we should probably add in a little bit of warp stabilizer. Since I already did that in my example, which was this one right here. So what we can do is we can delete out the old one and just drag in the new pop-out right here. And you'll see that it's easy and ready to go. So let's go ahead and scale that back down. Put that maybe towards the center of the bridge right there. Let's try to make a point that we can track ourselves. And then go with the position sort of marker, except we should probably start it right here. We want to actually start it at the beginning of the animation. Otherwise, we're going to track from the middle and it won't look good. So here we go. Let's move forward a little bit. And then you can just move it down and to the left a little. And then down and to the left a little. I'm just really eyeballing it here. A little bit to the left and up. And then, yeah, there it fades out. So now you have a little bit more, with the warp stabilizer and the tracking, you have a little bit more sort of control over here. It looks a little bit better. But that is how you create the animation. What I was talking about earlier, where you can add the cross dissolve to the end. If you go to the pop-out animation and you remove all of these cross dissolves and just make these really, really long, you can actually go into your footage, and whenever you want it to end, you can add the cross dissolve here. So let's say we wanted our footage to end a little bit later. We could, if we expanded all those, we could drag this out, and wherever we felt like it should end, we could add a cross dissolve to that as well. So that's just another little way to do it. But that is how you create a call out title in Premiere Pro. A little bit lengthy and a little bit sort of janky around edges, just because Premiere Pro isn't the best graphic designer like After Effects is, but you can get the job done, and especially if you have tracked or really just stable footage, you can use this effect and make it look really, really neat. Thanks everyone for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them in the comment section below on our website at adobemasters.net. If you want to see more videos similar to this one, go and hit that subscribe button. I make a video every other day on Adobe related products. And until next time, guys, see ya.